magic sparks. And you might come past across the 6'4" chick flinging on my spots with a shot. You thought that's Candace Park. She may be a lady Katie, past the Christy, cool as the AC, the ice princess, no doubt the finish. She grabbing like a line in the spot, she take Chris. WNBA sparking, loving the best cause they all so hard. So we going home.
Well, good evening, WNBA and LA Sparks fans, and welcome in to the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion, Los Angeles Sparks. And everybody, let's all do it together. Let's inhale and now exhale. After a franchise worst 0-7 start to begin the 2015 regular season, we are proud to say, folks, but your LA Sparks are in the win column following a thrilling 86-81 victory over the visiting San Antonio Stars to kick off the first of a three-game 4th of July weekend series at home. Tonight, taking down the San Antonio Stars, 86-81. Good evening, folks. Alongside Chris Amanci, our go-to swingman host from a happy Annenhart Studios up in Anaheim, California. Cal McClure joining you here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Well, Chris, we waited patiently. We were behind this team for 7 straight losses, a few ugly ones, and a lot of games came down to the final few minutes. But, Chris, tonight, man, finally, after waiting for a while, Chris, waiting 320 days for a Sparks victory since losing in the postseason last year to the Phoenix Mercury, Chris. And finally, a W to talk about, man. Other than that, how is it going? All right, so we've already experienced a quick difficulty with Chris, as you guys may know very well. We do not have the best internet connection here at studio, so we're trying to debug the situation, and hopefully Chris will be back sometime soon. But again, folks, a game that I think a lot of people were saying was going to be LA's first win, not because the Stars had a rough start as well, but that LA was destined sooner or later to pick up a victory sometime soon, and to finally see the Sparks play a complete 40-minute effort tonight. Finally, something great to see, folks. We'll get to the stats here right now. Again, Sparks 86, San Antonio 81, your final night from Staples Center. Final line score for San Antonio, 22 in the first, 18 in the second, 25 in the third, and 16 in the fourth for the game, total of 81. For the Sparks, 12 in the first, a rugged start again for Los Angeles, but 26 in the second, 22 in the third, and 26 more in the fourth quarter to put this game away for good for the Sparks this evening. Let's get through the Stars box for the night. Derek Hamby, 19. Sophia Young-Malcolm, 18. Daniel Robinson, 12. Kayla McBride, 10. Daniel Adams and Kalena Green all with 8. Gia Perkins, 4. Sydney Colson, 2. Kayla Alexander, Jana Pell, Brittany Haronko, and Alex Montgomery all held scoreless for San Antonio this evening. For the Sparks with their first win of the season, birthday girl Nneka Agumake, 27 points. Jantil Lavender, 21. Chrissy Tolliver, 15 points. Aaron Phillips, 7. Mariana Tolo, 6. Andrea Hoover and Tamika Johnson all with 5. Jasmine Lister, no points. And tonight, being held out of the ballgame this evening, Faria Abdi and Elena Beard due to injury, no points in the ballgame. Jen Hampson and Jen Lacey, all no points as well, held out via coach's decision. Well, Chris, if we have you back, man, obviously a whirlwind for the Sparks over the past few games. Just some bad play early on, losing 2 games to Seattle, getting whitewashed at home by the Minnesota Lynx, and, of course, going on the road and playing a lot better and more spirited basketball during that time on the road, and finally coming back, Chris, to Staples, a building where they have been dynamite in franchise history, but again, just some bumps in the road. But finally, Chris, getting a full 40-minute effort tonight and making a great comeback down 10 early in the ball game. Any thoughts or what? All right, so again, folks, it appears that the internet connection does not want to have Chris on the program. We will try to get him on through a different form of contact here, as obviously, as you guys know, again, Things just do not click right for us here sometimes. So we will bring Chris on via the Apple FaceTime app on my phone. We'll get this going at this point in time. Again, we're trying to get these bugs worked out here, but again, some problems with Chris again. But again, folks, to reiterate again, the Sparks finally again, after a very rough 7-game stretch again, where you saw the Sparks playing bad basketball, playing better basketball, improving so much that you were just it was almost, a matter of time. And again, now, folks, again, we had the problems again with Chris in the Hangout. We will now go to the Apple FaceTime app to bring Chris Romanci on from the Internet Studios up in Anaheim, California. I know, Chris, that we, again, man, no surprise again that you're left out in the cold again, man. But, Chris, finally, man, after such a rough start for the Sparks through 7 games of, okay, rough basketball, okay basketball, much improved basketball, and now, Chris, finally, man, it all finally clicks, Chris. Other than that, how's it been going? Chris, we can't hear you. I know you're hype, man, about the victory going on Sunday, but we kind of need you on the ball here. What's up?
A great win. I think just because Phoenix just wants to piss my mind off because I'm going Sunday, and I think he just wants to just piss me off already.
Again, folks, Sparks 86, San Antonio 81 tonight. Again, but Sparks, Chris. Ooh, okay, man. It looked a little bit scary after the first quarter. The Sparks down 12-4 at one point, but Chris battling back to erase that 10-point, then 12-point deficit down to only 2 at halftime, and then take complete control of the game in the fourth quarter. Chris, the petition law, 3 out of 4 tonight, man. So he took 75% of the credit here. 26 in quarters 2 and 4, and 22 in the third quarter, I should say. And Chris, I mean, there's not enough that we can really say about how great the Sparks actually played tonight. Again, knowing that they, were struggling through the first 7, Chris, and to finally be able to get a complete 40-minute effort, Chris. What went right for the Sparks in this game as opposed to the other 7 games that they had dropped to start off the season?
They just clicked. They just got home. They had Aaron Phillips back. Chrissy Tolliver is back in the lineup again, back at home. Nick Bumake with putting up like 27 points on her birthday. Gentown Lavender with another double-double. Her 5th on the season, 2nd most in the NBA already this season, and just great all around.
Yeah, Chris, finally, Chris, you knew eventually that something was going to click on for the Sparks. Okay, we sat through a couple of very bad games, one to start the season in Seattle, then a bad game versus Minnesota at home, and then, Chris, they go on the road for 3 games. Drop off, but Chris, it seemed like after that game with Minnesota, everything kind of finally was slowly starting to click on all cylinders. Yeah, they lost to Washington. They battled Connecticut to overtime. They took the game with the Liberty down to the final minute. So, Chris, it was sort of like it was almost like it was a ticking time bomb ready to explode because that they were so sluggish in the start, and then once that road trip happened, Chris, they kind of turned that corner. But then, Chris, tonight you see a tremendously Chris, almost shades of a team from last year at times, and a lot of times from 2013, Chris, was playing team basketball. And, of course, Chris, the big 3 right now, N.O., Lab, and KT. 27 for N.O. on her birthday. Happy birthday, NECA. 21 for Jantel Lavender. 15 for Chris Tolliver, Chris, who really got that rally started with her 3-pointer when the game was about between a 4-point deficit, Chris, and a big 3 by KT keeps the game close. And then, Chris, after that, it's Eno and Lav running over San Antonio like a mad freight train on the Union Pacific Highway out here in Southern California, Chris. A lot of great high-low passes, Chris. Aaron Phillips with a money reverse layup towards the end of the ballgame, Chris. Tamika Johnson going over the 2,500 career point total for her illustrious career. So, Chris, a lot of great stuff happening tonight. Now, Chris, It's a matter of getting a few of the puzzle pieces, though, still back in the mix. Elena Beard again, bad ankle, could be out another few weeks when I'm hearing, Chris. Maria Abdi got banged up over the road trip, did not suit up in the final 2 games versus Connecticut. And, of course, Chris, no Jen Lacey and Jen Hampson again tonight. Trissa Lister, no points tonight. So, Chris, now, man, it does not really get a lot easier for the Sparks going forward, Chris. Now I have to play a team, Chris, in the Tulsa Shock tomorrow, who, Chris, were dealt a very, very big, but, Chris, a very sad note, folks. Skylar Diggins, who was having a probable MVP season, All-Star season, done for the season, tore her ACL versus the Storm a couple days ago, out for the remainder of the year. So now, Chris, things for the Shock, Chris, like I wrote earlier, Chris, tonight, man, you saw the wheels come off the bandwagon for the Shock. Sadly, folks, that's what's happened here, because, Chris, no Odyssey Sims, no Tiffany Jackson-Jones, and now, Chris, no Skylar Diggins. 3 crucial puzzle pieces to the Shock, Chris, out of the lineup, Chris. And it seems like, man, I know that you and I are cursed going to Sparks games so far this season in regards to losing games, as I've gone to 2 last year and, of course, going this year. And, of course, Chris, I know that we're cursed going to games in person because we've lost. But, Chris, like Shorty Mama 24 told us last year and around this time last year, Chris, that Tulsa, Chris, just seems like they're cursed. Sadly, you know, Detroit, Chris, is like haunting the Shock now. I mean, sadly, it's been that way. You know, starting the season, Chris, their first year in Tulsa, Chris, going 3-31, 0-20 to begin that season. And now, Chris, the bad luck sadly continues, Chris. In your mind, Chris, is it a bigger blow for the Shock or a bigger blow for the league to lose Skylar Diggins to that ACL, Chris? What is your reason and why?
I think probably, I want to say probably the league. Losing a big person in Skylar Diggins, having Tulsa Shock starting the season like red hot, and since her tearing her ACL and down for the season, and now it's probably going to go downhill now.
Chris, this is a two-way street. Of course, it's a big blow to the Shock, Chris, now that their star player is done for the season, of course, with the torn ACL, and of course that, as you folks may have seen by the scoreboard tonight, they got drubbed by the Mercury in Phoenix tonight, 86-55, and at one point, Chris, they were only in the 30s through three quarters tonight, so obviously, you know that Diggins' presence is going to be missed, but Chris, as I typed out and tweeted, I want to say either last night or today, that James Bowman, our great friend from the Atlanta Dream, retweeted today, Chris, was, okay, let's kind of sum this up, Chris. So far through 2 months of the season, we've dealt with domestic violence, a new owner in New York, and a season, Chris, without Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker till the end of this month, and now, Chris, Shanae Agumake done for the season, and now Skylar Diggins done for the season. Chris, in your mind, I know that you've only watched the sport for 2 years, and I've had it watched it more for 11 years, Chris. Through what you've seen, Chris, because you've been through ownership change in LA, and now this, Chris, where I've been through a lot more than you have so far in my time watching the sport, Chris. Wackiest season of any sport you watched in your life, and why?
Very wacky. First, the Sparks ownership left, and then didn't know what was going to happen, and the Sparks were going to fold, or lead to the Bay Area, and then players sitting out, like Diana Taurasi, and big players like Candace Parker, and then now Skylar Diggins turning ACL and now done for the season, and then Shanae Agumake out, and just very wacky.
It's been that kind of a year, folks, so I can really say for it. But again, folks, Sparks win! Sparks win! The Sparks win tonight, finally, 86-81 over the visiting San Antonio Stars. Now, Chris, the Stars tonight played a good game up until probably once the third quarter winded down. They still held a 3-point lead after the third quarter. But then, Chris, it just looked like that the fourth quarter, the gas gauge ran out on them, Chris. And again, they had a great game, though, from Derica Hamby, their rookie, who played 30 minutes tonight with 19 points. But, of course, Chris, otherwise, man, another slow game for Danielle Robinson again, who, again, Chris, has a lot of weight on her shoulders since Becky Hammond is now retired and gone from the Stars, Chris. And now that the Stars lose, Chris, I mean, obviously, man, you don't want to be that team that gives a team their first win. But, Chris, what did you see, though, from the Stars towards the end of the game? Because we know, man, they were on fire to start that game. You know, up 12-4, up 10 after the first quarter. But then, Chris, something I think, though, went against San Antonio towards the later half of the ball game. Whether it was that the Sparks were finally getting hot, they had their mojo back. But, Chris, what did you see, though, that really was the key turning point in the ball game? I think, Chris, it was just that, again, that the Stars don't have another star player to really help out Daniel Robinson on the roster right now, depth-wise. What are you thinking? Why?
Yeah, I think the Stars don't have another big player to help out. Like you said, Daniel Robinson, they don't have a player. They have Daniel Adams, but she couldn't get the job done.
Chris, you know, that's the problem, though, man, that you get when you only have teams, that you do get with teams that only have one player that can really hold the fort down for you is, again, that they can only do so much work to keep a game close. And, again, thanks tonight, again, folks, for the Stars go down south. And, again, the Sparks mercifully win 86-81 tonight over the San Antonio Stars over at Staples Center this evening. More games tonight in the WNBA. The Chicago Sky outlasted the Connecticut Sun 77-74 tonight. Chris, the Sun in this game, they were in it, Chris. They led for the most part, Chris, up until they fizzled out in the fourth quarter, Chris, and they conceded, Chris, 19 points in the fourth and were held to 9 tonight. And again, Chris, Elena Delle Donne once more having another great game once more again for the Sky. Chris, 12 points in the game, but of course, finally missed a free throw. She tonight she went 6 of 7 from the field, from the free throw line. And Chris, tonight, Alex Bentley once more again going off for the Sun tonight. So, folks, here's the final box score. For Chicago, Jessica Breland, 10, Courtney Vandersloot, 16, Elena Delle Donne, 12, Cappie Pondexter, 8, and Allie Quigley, 19 points, 3 of 7 from beyond the arc tonight. Bethany Laney, 8, Jackie Gemelos, no points. Clarissa Dos Santos and Jameer Falliner all with 2, and Sasha Goodlett with no points. Tamara Young did not play, battling a thumb injury, and Cheyenne Parker, DNP, coach's decision. For the Connecticut Sun tonight in the ball game after losing tonight, they now fall to 7-3 on the season. Camille Little, 12 points. Kayla Peterson, 4. Alyssa Thomas, 12. Jasmine Thomas, 4. Alex Bentley, 25. Elizabeth Williams, 8 points. Inga Orakova, no points. Chelsea Gray, 5. And Shakina Strickland with 4. Cheyenne Ogumake did not dress with the team, of course, held out with her injured leg. Kelly Ferris, coach decision, and also, by the way, folks, Kelsey Bone, DNP, suspended 1 game for a flagrant foul in the Suns' previous game versus Indiana a few days ago. Now, Chris, the Sun here. Let's go to the Sun first, Chris. The Sun, again, leading for the most part, but, Chris, tonight, though, was just that night where almost, Chris, reminded me of tonight's game with the Sparks and Stars, Chris, where the gas gauge ran out at the worst possible time, Chris. What do you think here, seeing that, again, you know, that the Sun were in charge, Chris, up until the fourth quarter where they gave up 19, but, of course, Chris, only scored 9, though, in the fourth quarter. Thoughts on the night's game up there in Connecticut are what?
Just very weird, and just pretty much they just ran out of gas towards the end.
So, again, folks, Chicago hangs on to win 77-74 up there in Connecticut. Over in Indianapolis, the Indiana Fever barbecued the Washington Mystics 73-50. They're probably one of their bigger wins of the season for Washington in the ballgame. 20 in the first, 14 in the second, and then, Chris, this is staggering. 9 in the third and 7 in the fourth for the game total of 50 for the Fever. 21 in the first, 17 in the second, 19 in the third, and 16 in the fourth for the game total of 73. Stephanie Dolson and Tierra Ruffin-Pratt all with 12, and then after that, major drop-offs for the Mystics. Emma Meeseman, 9, Kara Lawson and Ivory Lotta all with 5. Kayla Thorne, 2, all with Natasha Cloud also with 2. Bria Hartley with 3. Allie Mallet, Arminty Harrington, and Taylor Hill all with no points, and Kia Vaughn did not play. She is not with the team right now for Indiana in the ball game. Shanice Johnson, 16. Tamia Catchings, 15 points. Natalie Achuan, 6. Marissa Coleman, 4. Brianne January, 7. Leanetta Kaiser, 8. Natasha Howard, 5. Orlana Larkins in her debut, 4 points. And Lashia Clarendon with 8 points. And 3 injuries to report for the Fever tonight. Jeanette Poland, Maggie Lucas, and Shavante Zellos all held out. Poland with a calf, Lucas with a right hip, and Zellos with a back issue. Now, Chris, the Mystics, man, boy, oh boy. Chris, you talk about bad second halves, Chris. That was the Mystics tonight, Chris. They scored only a combined total of 17 points, Chris. Only 17 points in the second half tonight, Chris. So obviously, man, that is not a good sign tonight. And also, Chris, Chris, the Mystics only had 2 players tonight in double figures, Chris. So, Chris, in your mind, what's more alarming for you? The low scoring totals in the second half, or they only had 2 players in double digits? What is it and why? Washington only scoring a combined total of 17 points in the second half, or having 2 players with double digits in tonight's game?
I think they just got tired towards the second half and just didn't have another big piece.
And a big piece maybe, Chris, but of course, and then Chris, the Fever on the other hand, man, probably one of their better games played so far this season. Of course, they've been dealing with injuries and problems too. Tonight, Chris, Shanice Johnson, 16, and of course, Tamia Catchings with 15 points. So, of course, good game for the Fever, and again, the Fever win pretty handily, 73-50. And then back out west, the Phoenix Mercury absolutely destroyed. Yikes. The Tulsa Shock tonight, 96 or 86-55. The game line total, Chris. Ball game, Chris, game, set, match, sadly, after quarter one, Chris. Tulsa puts up 9 in the first. The Mercury put up 26 after 10 minutes of play in the ball game. Along the final line total for the Shock, 9 in the first, 20 in the second, 7 in the third, and 19 in the fourth, for the game total of 55 for the Mercury. 26 in the first, 21 in the second, 20 in the third, and 19 in the fourth, for the game total of 86. And a pretty bad and one lopsided box score for the Shock tonight, folks, with only 1 player for the Shock in double figures. That's Cream and Christmas with 11. Other than that, Plannette Pearson, no points. Courtney Paris, 8. Raquana Williams, 7. Brianna Kessel, 4. Jordan Hooper, 7. Teresa Planciana, 7. Vicky Boggs, 7. Amanda Zowie B, 4 points. Tiffany Jackson-Jones, Odyssey Sims. Skylar Diggins, all out. Jackson-Jones, leg. Diggins, ACL. Sims, leg. All DNPs for the Shock tonight. For the Phoenix Mercury tonight, Mo Curry, 11. Candice Dupree, 16. Brittany Griner, 13. Leilani Mitchell, 3. Dewana Bonner, 11. Off the bench, Misty Bass and Shakima Christian with 6. Tess Magnan and Kayla Francis all with 4. Tiffany Bias, 5. Alex Harding with 7. Noelle Quinn, no points for the Merc in tonight's ball game. So, Chris, same story here, man. More alarming, Shock with 1 player in double figures, or getting blown out 26-9 after quarter one? What is it and why?
I think it was getting blown out after the first quarter. It was pretty much the ball game for the Mercury, pretty much out of the first quarter.
Chris, Chris, that injuries happen, but Chris, when it happens to a team that is intriguing to watch, just like the Shock have been, and it's to a star player, Chris, it's not a very good sign for that franchise and that team. So, of course, the Mercury run away after quarter one from the Shock in Phoenix, 86-55, and back out west up in L.A. The L.A. Sparks chalk up win number 1 on the season, beating the San Antonio Stars 86-81. The Sparks with the win go to 1-7 on the season and 1-3 at home. The Stars now 2-8 on the season and are 0-5 on the road from the Freeman Coliseum down there in San Antonio, Texas. Now, folks, by the way, the Sparks injury report: Faria Abdi, again, DNP, left knee injury, and also Elena Beer dealing with that bad left foot, by the way, and also Lacey and Hampson held out for coaches' decisions tonight by Brian Agler and the Sparks coaching staff for the game tonight. Looking across the WNBA scoreboard for tomorrow's games in the WNBA. Plenty of coverage on a Friday night. 2 games is all we'll have tomorrow for you folks here on here tomorrow night on Friday. Trying to pull up the game schedule for Friday. Trying to see if this can pull up here. Again, we've had some smattering of problems, folks. So tomorrow's schedule goes as follows here tomorrow. Storm at Lynx at 5 o'clock, and at 7:30, the Shock will visit the Sparks. At 7:30, the game can be seen on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet and Time Warner Cable Deportes. Off day Saturday for the league, and then on Sunday, 2 early games, Seattle at Atlanta, 12 noon, and then, of course, for the 19th straight year, Western Conference foes hook up once more. Again, as the Sparks will face the longtime rival, Phoenix Mercury, on Sunday at 2 o'clock on TWC-SN. Now, Chris, we really can't go much further without bringing up what I had talked about earlier in the day, or earlier in the broadcast, or the Twitter cast, Chris, where, again, folks, to reiterate again, now, again, I know that I got worked up a bit on Tuesday during the game, at this point in time, again, about Candace Parker's future. But, again, folks, reported tonight, if you did not hear it, but, again, I tweeted it out. This old news is just in. Candace Parker is due back to play later this month. Now, please do me a favor. Sit down, shut up, and not say anything else about it. Now, Chris, now we know that it's going to be happening, Chris. Can we finally put this thing to bed for once?
Yep, put it to bed.
So, again, folks, now, again, we don't know the exact timetable of Parker coming back. I was told beforehand, but now, folks, it's going to be after the All-Star break. And the Sparks' first game post the break will be on July 28th when the Sparks visit the Minnesota Lynx at 5 p.m. from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, of course, Chris, trying to get that. So, of course, Chris, now, man, now it's almost like, okay, now I know, Chris, a lot of people were doubting if Parker was going to come back because of the record. Well, now, Chris, now they got to win. Now, if they get more wins, we know that she'll be a definite lock. But, of course, folks, again, if you did not hear the broadcast, folks, and I tweeted this out, but, again, this was reported on the broadcast by Jim Watson of TWCSN, but again, he reported tonight, Candace Parker due back to play for the Sparks after the All-Star break, so you do not have to worry and keep asking the Sparks to trade her or release her, or whatever you may want them to do, folks, but again, due back after the All-Star break, so please, enough is enough with Ace 3 coming back post the break for the LA Sparks. And, of course, Chris, now, man, now we get over this game, Chris. Let's look at, Chris, tomorrow night, Sparks and Shock. An old-school rivalry of sorts. Of course, Sparks and the Detroit Shock go back many, many years. Chris, obviously, man, we know that it will not be a pushover for the Sparks to get win number 2, even though that Tulsa did lose their big postal piece. Chris, what are your early thoughts and a preview of the game tomorrow up there at Staples at 7:30 p.m.?
I think it'll be a great battling out between the Sparks and the Shock. And I think Nneka Ogwumike probably leave it all out there on the line. And I think the Sparks will get another victory.
So again, folks, Sparks and Shock hook up again tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. A quick program alert, folks. We will not have a post-game show following the game tomorrow night. I am going to be out and about on a Friday night with my family at the local fair, enjoying some deep-fried Slim Fast bars and a concert tomorrow night. So again, we will not have any post-game coverage of the game tomorrow, but we will have post-game coverage following Chris getting back home from Sunday's game versus the Mercury at 10 o'clock back here on LAS 365. Chris, with that, man, we're getting ready to head out here for the night. Your final thoughts on the night's game are what?
A great game for the Sparks to finally get the first win on the season on Nneka Ogwumike's birthday, putting up 27 points, and just great night, and happy birthday to Nneka.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday night, July the 2nd, 2015, the Los Angeles Sparks snapped their franchise worst start of 0-7, dating back to 2007, as they take down the San Antonio Stars tonight, 86-81, at the big office at Staples Center in downtown LA. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you folks back here on Sunday. Until Sunday, folks, please have a safe 4th of July weekend. Enjoy it. Have a great time, but, of course, enjoy it safely. Until Sunday, please have a safe 4th of July weekend. Drive home safely. Do not drink and drive. We'll see you folks back here on Sunday. Good night now. This has been the LA Sparks 365 Network. Of course, we are Sparks. We are LA. We are the WNBA. We'll see you folks back here on Sunday. And, of course, folks, have a great, safe, and fun 4th of July weekend. For Chris Mancy up in Anaheim, Cameron and San Diego signing off. See you folks back here on Sunday. Sparks win 86-81. Good night. Bye-bye.